Hey everyone, my name is McKeown. I'm a licensed real estate agent and investor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've helped well over 200 people purchase, invest, or sell their properties here, but there's one thing that I will never do again, and that's flip a house. But before I go into why I will not flip any more houses, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a backstory. About 4 years ago when I first got into real estate, or what really got me into real estate was Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book. You may or may not have heard of it. The second book, however, that I read, and to be honest with you guys, I was not a reader. I was a math major and honestly hadn't read a book in 10 years. But the second book that I picked up was actually called Flip: How to Find, Fix, and Sell Houses for Profit. And to be quite frank with you, that book showed me and told me real early on that flipping houses was not gonna be what I was interested in. Now, I'm sure just about everyone knows what flipping houses are. We've all seen HGTV and all the glorious money that they make on all those great shows. It just shows how much flipping homes can be the greatest thing ever. And I have a lot to tell you about that. One of the biggest reasons that flipping houses is not for me is I get to see as a real estate agent firsthand that deals with a lot of investors just how much money people are making when they flip houses, and on the flip side, how much money they're losing. When I first became a licensed agent, I had about a year of experience in investing. It was actually the area that I really started to get clientele and help people, was just buying properties potentially as rental properties, or buying rundown homes that needed work, flipping them, or even listing potential flipped homes. Now, there's a ton of ways that you can invest in real estate. Like I said before, flipping is one of the largest and what we likely hear of most. Rental properties is also a great avenue. But when it comes to flipping homes, the biggest thing is people do not run the numbers correctly. There's actually a ton that is involved in flipping homes. And as I mentioned before, the book really showed me that firsthand. But it wasn't actually until I helped an individual flip a home and then list it that it really showed me that it wasn't for me. In this particular instance, it was a house that was about double the average home price in our area. So first things first, in the current market that we were in at that time, homes at that value definitely didn't sell as quickly as the average home price. That's definitely one thing that needs to be considered when you purchase a flip property, is what the end of the list price is going to be and how that reflects to your price in your market. If it's going to be average or below, it should sell pretty quickly if it's priced right and the work has been done well. On the other side, if you do a high-end flip and price it high and the work is not done well, you more than likely are going to be having it sit for a very long time. Now, this particular home was only the second home in their local area that had been renovated, and they were trying to get an extreme premium on this home. What initially was supposed to be a 3-month ordeal, remodeling it and getting it back on the market to sell, turned into over a year of remodeling, going through 3 separate contractors and actually dealing with a ton of stuff and issues with the first contractor that they wound up actually having to pay at closing due to a lawsuit. Now, there's going to be plenty of good and bad stories that you hear when it comes to flipping houses. I know on HGTV themselves, at the end, they make sure to let you know that this went wrong and this went wrong, but still they were able to profit $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. That's still a very, very good flip story, even though they try to put it off as a bad situation. In this case, it was a horrible situation. They wound up not even profiting a single dollar. They wound up bringing to closing additional money in order to close on the house. And since then, they haven't invested, and it's been about 2 years. Again, this was over a year spent remodeling, traveling back and forth, spending a ton of money on contractors, dealing with the issues with the contractors, dealing with the work that was not great initially, then going and hiring an additional contractor to redo the work that was done horribly the first time. Needless to say, this was not a good situation. As someone that's actually been inside the realm of real estate investing and seen all of the good and all of the bad, again, it's one of the most frustrating parts is when you see a ton of people flaunting the fact that they are extremely successful, when in reality, they probably aren't as successful as they come across. Another reason why I will never flip another property again is strictly based on the risk and competition that has become in my local market. Again, I'm locally in the Dallas-Fort Worth market in Texas. There's plenty of other markets that are completely saturated and extremely competitive across the country. But I can tell you firsthand, you used to be able to buy a property in 2017, a starter 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage for maybe $200,000 in a good area or decent area. Those same areas less than 4 years later, your houses are looking to be anywhere from 250,000 all the way up close to 300,000. Now, obviously, a lot of that is driven up just by a lot that has happened in the last year and a lot of folks relocating down here to Texas in general. But on top of that, plenty of people have relocated down here as well with the intention to flip properties and make money in real estate. Regarding competition, our market has been extremely hot for many, many years, and it's only gotten hotter. When you have a very, very desirable market, you're gonna have a ton of people that are looking to invest, not just necessarily in buy and holds and rental properties, but just as many people looking to purchase homes down here that are distressed or purchase properties at a discounted price with the intention to turn around and flip them. Now, obviously with competition, this is going to drive up prices. When you drive up prices, it's going to drive up the opportunity or value that you're going to try to get as profit from one of your properties that you flip. Now, as a competitive person, I absolutely love competition. I really compete in anything and everything that I do. But when it comes to making money or on the flip side, losing money, I don't really love the idea that I'm going to be constantly competing with other people in my local market to try to get a home to flip. Because at the end of the day, I want to buy the house, let's say, for $200,000. There's going to be someone that wants to buy it for $205,000. Well, then I'm going to try to pay $207,000. And then it's just going to continue to drive the price up to the point where it doesn't even make any sense anymore to turn that property into a flipped property. Now, on the other side of things, risk is something that you're going to probably have to encounter throughout your life. Now, when it comes to risking $100,000 to $200,000 to $300,000 cash that you pulled from a private investor or a private money loan or a hard money loan, it becomes a lot more stressful when we're talking about risk. Now, going back to the very first story I just told you guys about losing money, to give you guys even more insight about that, they had to pull their entire retirement out in order to fund that flip project. So when they turned around and were able to sell the property, the money that they were getting out, which again wasn't even profit, that was solely their retirement income. If they had to sit on that property longer, if they weren't able to sell that property, their retirement money was stuck in that property. And I can personally say it was very difficult for myself to watch happen, having gotten to know these folks over the last year. But I can't imagine how they felt with their retirement money stuck in a house that they constantly had to remodel, that they were constantly having issues with. And when it did go on the market, we had some issues trying to sell it because of the work that had been done. When it comes to real estate investing, just in general, risk is going to be a factor regardless. However, there are so many other ways than flipping properties that risk can certainly be averted, or at least the risk that you're going to be taking is going to be far less than flipping. I personally think as far as real estate investing goes, flipping is the riskiest type of real estate investing that you could choose to do. Now, the reward when it does come to flipping houses, if you're experienced and know what you're doing and able to do it quickly and well, the profit and reward is substantial. But I can tell you firsthand, being in the realm of real estate investing, there are a ton of people that are trying to flip houses that I can say are not experienced whatsoever. And I think that's probably the biggest issue, is everyone is watching HGTV out there and thinking they can do it, but in reality, it is so much more difficult than you actually think. The next aspect of flipping homes is probably a topic that not a lot of people discuss. And the reason is because it's not something that people really enjoy talking about. All they want to do is they want to say, hey, look, I made $50,000 on this flip. Well, how much did you actually put into it? How much time did it cost you? And how much did you pay in taxes? No one likes to pay taxes. No one likes the fact that if you make some money, guess what? The government's gonna have to take some of it. But at the end of the day, when you flip a property, if you make outright $50,000 on a property, any kind of money, $10,000 on a property, you have to pay taxes. Now, I don't want to bore you with taxes and numbers all day long, but I will give you guys a quick example. Let's say you're an individual with a W-2 job making $100,000 and you decide part-time that you want to try to flip a house. It goes well, and let's say you make $50,000 on the flip. $50,000 on a flip would be an extraordinary good flip, but you got to pay taxes on that. If you're making $100,000, you're going to be taxed at an income bracket of 24%. 24% of $50,000 is 12 grand. So you didn't actually make 50 grand, you made 38 grand. Again, 38 grand is a great profit off of a flip, but again, not all the time are people actually profiting on their flips. Now, going back to that first story that I told you guys, again, they didn't profit any. If you don't profit any, you're obviously not going to pay any taxes, but let's say they maybe made $10,000 over a year. Same income bracket, about $100,000 combined between the two. They are going to be taxed again at 24%, 24% off of $10,000. They're going to wind up walking away with $7,600 instead of $10,000. I personally don't think taxes are the biggest issue. I think the biggest issue is the fact that people just don't account for taxes, meaning they take that $10,000 that they profited and then they go and spend it. Then they come back at the end of the year or the following year and they have to actually come up with the money to pay that taxes on the gains, and they don't have the money to pay it. Then they wind up spending many, many months trying to accrue the additional cost to pay the taxes that they should have just paid the year prior. There's a lot of people out there that are not going to complain about paying taxes. They say, hey, if I'm paying taxes, that means I'm making money, which is absolutely correct. But I don't think anyone enjoys writing substantial checks to the IRS, and paying taxes is just not fun altogether. I can tell you firsthand, as a business owner that has owned a real estate company for the last 3 to 4 years, it is definitely not enjoyable. When it comes to flipping properties, especially folks that are so new in the business, they don't understand that when they profit from a flip, that you need to put away some of that profit that you made for taxes. Now, again, this is something that is definitely not spoken enough about when it comes to flipping properties. Again, all you see is the beautiful check that they may send you on Instagram or post on Facebook or just post on social media altogether of the $80,000 check that they just got, when in reality, $60,000 of that was their own money, and then $20,000 was profit. And of that $20,000, they haven't even paid taxes yet. So when it goes back to that $80,000 nice check that they posted and told everyone about on social media, they didn't really make $80,000. They made $15,000 after what they initially put in and after what they probably should be paying in taxes. The last reason why I will personally never flip a property again is the fact that there are so many better opportunities, and my favorite opportunity are buy and holds. Appreciation in all of my rental properties, thankfully, because I'm in such a great area and a hot market, has substantially grown my net worth simply by just putting in a tenant into a property that I've lived in. Now, there are obviously going to be risks involved with buying rental properties. I have to pay for things to get fixed. I have to deal with vacancy. I have to deal with a ton of different things, but it's definitely not going to be as risky as flipping homes. Also, my intention as a 31-year-old is definitely not to get rich quick. I plan to invest for the foreseeable future and hold long-term, which makes sense to buy rental properties. When it comes to flipping houses, you're going to be buying a property. Hopefully, you're going to be holding the property for less than 6 months and turning around and just making a profit. What are you going to do with that profit, though? That's my question. What are you going to do with that $30,000 that you just made and you have to pay taxes on? That $30,000 could certainly be turned around and used for a rental property, but I would simply just rather put all of my money into rental properties and allow the appreciation to grow in each one of them, allow the cash flow to pay me some money, and be in a much better position 10, 20, or 30 years down the road. Again, I'm a local investor in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. I have a duplex, a quad, a single family, a primary residence with an Airbnb, and another single family on the way. I love buy and holds. I absolutely love the opportunity that rental properties have given me in my life, and the fact that every single month I get positive cash flow from all of my properties. And I can tell you firsthand, again, I've helped a ton of people flip properties here in terms of turning around and selling them on the open market, and not a lot of them are actually profiting. On the flip side, I help a ton of people buy rental properties, and I very seldom have any kind of negative responses from them in terms of how that has gone for them. A certain level of risk is where I'm comfortable at, and flipping homes certainly is not my level of comfort. Now, I do have properties that I have done work to and then turned them into rental properties, but I have never actually flipped a property and immediately turned it over onto the open market to sell. Again, it goes back to the fact that I am more interested in long-term wealth and long-term growth in terms of my business than an immediate return in 3 or 6 months with the potential of actually losing money. Now, if you're here to follow my journey, I appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help. I may be doing some work on properties here in the future. I do have a single family that I'm going to be completely remodeling. But again, I'm not going to be turning that around on the open market to sell. I'm going to be turning that around into a rental property with the intention to hold for the foreseeable future. Thanks again for watching, guys, and stay tuned for the next video.